Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. We have a lot of great stories to cover with you guys this week. Today, we're going to start off with Gene Hackman's house. You know, the one that him and his wife died in is up for sale. Then we have an update on the Indiana Jones experience at Disney. And speaking of injuries at theme parks, another person has died on a roller coaster at Universal Studios. Then we'll talk about a really crazy true crime case involving a child that killed his father over a Nintendo Switch. There is a lawsuit involving Prenuvo, which, if you guys recall, is the company that Kim Kardashian was endorsing, saying that they did elective full body MRIs. And a man claims that there was something really huge missed on his, which in turn caused him to have a near-death experience. So we'll talk about that. And a man who tried to board on a flight with his dead wife. We'll finish that up with your questions, comments, and emails, all that and more on today's episode. So I apologize to you guys because obviously I'm sick. I have 2 kids in my house that tested positive for the flu, despite the fact that they both had flu shots and and now I have it. So there you go. But the show must go on. So let's get started. Gene Hackman, I want to hear your thoughts because I'm just so annoyed by this.
Hold on. First, I want to say when you recorded the Monday's Morbid Minute yesterday, I knew I was gonna mess this up. This is like, you know, when we came up with the name "Sick Shocking Stories," we're like, are we idiots? Like,
Yeah,
how are
we
we
do it
gonna
all
say
the
this?
time.
Anyway, when you sent me the audio, I was like, she definitely sounds off, and I was like, are you sick? And you said no, and then hours later, you said the Demogorgon's coming for me, and I'm like, are you hallucinating or are you sick? But yeah, it's funny how I could tell just by the shift in your voice from week to week. But yeah, anyway, so first of all, I can't believe it's almost been a year since they died, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa. I can never say her last name either. It was in February of last year. I feel like it was much sooner than that, maybe because it comes up so often in conversation. It hasn't seemed that long, but that's truly nuts. But yeah, their Santa Fe home that they were found dead in has now been listed for sale for over $6 million. I was interested in the price point because on the article we referenced for the story, they were saying the median house sale in that area was going for $600,000, and this one's going for 10 times as much money. But I mean, again, they have a pretty huge property and it's a custom build. They've lived there for a couple decades. So what do you think about the price point?
So what was it, 6.5 million it's listed at?
It was 6.25, and at first I was looking into if it was listed as cheaper because of what happened there. But it actually seems like astronomical for the area they live in.
Well, they said that they are listing it cheaper because they think that I mean, I don't think that that's astronomical, honestly. It's 53 acres and the house is 13,000 square feet. Like, I don't even know how many comps in that area are anywhere near that. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
that's a
like
good
a house
point.
like mine would sell on average for that much money. Like, not this house. This is a beautiful estate. I guess so they were saying that normally a house like this with someone that's really like an A-list actor would sell for higher just because the A-list actor lived there, but they said, "Oh, you know, we're just going to base it priced on what we felt was a fair market value." Well, why do you think they're doing that? Because really, who wants to live there? I mean,
Well,
I know there's interest in like in sites where people died, which I understand that, but this is actually like to another level of not only just gross, but could potentially make you sick as well.
Well, that was my favorite quote I pulled from the article, which was, there will be some buyers that are just adverse to purchasing a property where a death has occurred. First of all, if you're buying a house, like you should, especially an older one, obviously, you should maybe assume a death has occurred there, whether it was a horrific homicide or a natural death. There's been at least a couple that have happened in my house, so whatever. But I think most houses, especially older ones, you could say somebody has probably died from old age or whatever in the house. So get that out of your mind and get over it, basically, right? But we know in this case that she died from hantavirus, which stems from rodents. So like, what's the
Exactly.
deal with that?
So it's like we know 100% certain that there are probably deer mice, they're a common vector in that area of hantavirus, living somewhere in that 53-acre estate or in or around their 13,000 square foot home. That virus can infect people that are completely healthy. So for me, it's just like that's kind of almost a hot zone. I would stay away from that just because you know it's there. Now it is all over the place too, and people aren't getting sick in that area. But it's just like, I don't know, it just kind of freaks me out a little bit to know that something that Betsy was doing on that property, whether she was cleaning up mouse droppings or whatever, she was exposed to the urine of one of these infected mice and got the hantavirus, and she was completely healthy before she got it, and then she died. Furthermore, they were both dead for a significant amount of time, and decomposing in that house is also just it's juicy, smelly, and I don't know. I mean, obviously they cleaned it up because I mean, it's not, in some cases like that, when a person decomposes, you're talking about like cutting out sections of floor because you can't get the smell out. So they've done something. They restaged the home, all this stuff. I mean, the pictures of it are absolutely gorgeous. Anybody would want the house, but I don't know. The whole thing of it is just kind of like every single time you go in that one room, wouldn't you just be like, oh, there was a dead decomposing body in here, and I don't know. And a dog too died.
Like, listen, I understand that. I obviously learned recently that somebody died in my house from alleged autoerotic asphyxiation, which doesn't make me feel good. So every time I go in that space, yeah, it crosses my mind. But like, I think people do die in
At
houses.
least he died doing something that he loved.
Well, yeah, and I don't even know if it's true or not. It was like word on the street. So like, I don't know. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find any confirmed records of it. And anybody that's lived here around that time is just like, we don't talk about that. So I do think it was maybe something along those lines. But yeah, I understand that. I wonder, I don't know about in New Mexico or like in general real estate law if you have to disclose those. Obviously everybody knows what happened in the house, but I'm saying if this happened to a regular person that died and was decomposing in the house for a long period of time, I wonder if that has to be disclosed, because I believe in New Jersey you only have to disclose if a homicide or a crime occurred in a house within 7 years.
I mean, I don't, I feel like that could be more of an issue because let's say, for example, someone was going to someone's house to kill them because, like in a homicide case, they're going there because they hate this person. If you hear that time to time, like let's say, for example, a person buys a house that like a prosecutor used to own, and then they move into it, and then all of a sudden some person gets out of jail and wants revenge, and they think that that prosecutor still lives there, but really it's someone else. I feel like something like that has happened within the past couple of years. So it's like you should be aware that there was a point where some kind of criminal activity was happening, just because like I've been at this house now for 13 years and I still get mail from people that used to live here. So there is a chance that people, think that you are still at the house, even if you're not at the house, and people could show up. But I just think a regular death is like whatever. I think it's funny because that happened to us once when we were looking for a house. We really liked this one house, and then we were outside and we were asking one of the neighbors, like, oh, how's the neighborhood? And she was just like, that the guy that lived here died in that house. And I was like, okay, whatever. And she was like, no, like his dead body was in that house. And I'm like, okay. Like people get really freaked out about that, but it's just like my house now was built in the 1800s. Like I'm sure many people died here. There were probably kids born here too, right? Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. And like you have a house over 100 years old, and like sometimes old people just die in their house. Like it just happens. It's nothing nefarious.
It happens
just
in my next door.
happens.
I mean, it happened in my next door neighbor. Like, her wife died at at the house. Like that it just happens. And the medical examiner came and picked her up, and then they brought her to the funeral home, and that was that. Like, people die. Like,
But did your neighbor know that when they bought that? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't
Like, if
know.
a
I was just
natural
thinking
death
about that
occurs-
because my neighbor Nicole is probably listening right now. So surprise! No,
But it was
I don't.
natural, right? So it's like nothing
Yeah, like
weird.
she just kinda died like in her sleep or right around that time when she tried to get up. It's just not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. Obviously, people feel a type of way about it, but I think if you're buying an older house, it would be difficult to find one where somebody didn't die in the house maybe at some point in time.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever. I know there's crime scene cleaning companies. They're all over Instagram too that are cleaning up these decomposed bodies, and they do a great job. So that's not as much of a concern for me as this whole like hantavirus thing. It's just I feel like, it's so specific and there's only a small number of cases reported a year, but like if you know a place where it actually happened, I just personally would stay away from it.
Oh, you don't mean when after this happened, the news wasn't trying to fearmonger all of us that it was like the next pandemic
Yeah,
coming for
exactly.
us? Yeah, that was getting out of hand. All right, update in the Disney Indiana Jones malfunction. So the guy who was hit with the 400-pound rubber ball is now revealing the extent of his injuries, and it was actually pretty bad.
Yeah, so you know what's interesting? When we posted our little teaser of this episode on Instagram, I was surprised that there were some people that commented and just said like, "Yeah, right, that ball wasn't 400
No,
pounds."
it was more like, you guys are idiots. Why would you think the
Like
ball's
that
400
but
pounds?
but I'm just kind of like the video is not AI, right? So if you just look at the man's response, it like there's no way that his body thrusted like that if it was something light that hit him.
Rubber is also heavy. I don't know
I know,
why
like
it was
I know it
such a
looks like
far-fetched thing.
I know, like, I guess what they're saying is if you look at it, it looks like it could be like a giant pool toy or something just because but it's just not. Like, once you see it hit the guy, you're like, okay, this was heavy. You could just tell.
Of course.
So anyway, he broke his freaking neck. He has 2 broken vertebral
Ugh.
bones in his neck. And that could cause, I mean, that protects your very essential and important spinal cord. So if that injury was severe enough, that could have severed a part of his spinal cord and he could have had either partial or full paralysis. So that's really serious. Now, one thing I want to note about the article is that this dude is like looks very happy-go-lucky and he's smiling and I'm just like, yeah, man, like he knows what's about to happen with him.
Well, did you
Probably
notice?
the best place to get injured like that.
Yeah, but did you notice it said his sister-in-law set up a GoFundMe to support his wife and his kids? And I'm like, this man has been an employee of at least this ride or experience, whatever it's called technically, for 30 years. And he said he didn't even think about it before he did it. He did it so the ball wouldn't hit the audience. Disney should be kissing his ass for his heroic actions.
I'm sure that will all come out, but they have lawyers, investigation, and this, that, and the other. He's going to get some kind of a settlement, and I imagine it's going to be pretty significant. But
Yes.
but like in the meantime, if he was just, an average paid employee, he needs money. And like honestly, like anytime anything happens to any person nowadays, it's just like an excuse to make a GoFundMe for them, right? So like it's up to, as of this morning, it was up to like 11 grand. So I mean, good for him, I guess.
I wonder how they're gonna alter I hate that it's not technically a ride. I'm just gonna call it a ride. Everybody knows what I mean. I wonder how they're gonna alter the
It's
ride.
an
because
experience.
It's a show, but I guess it's a show technically.
It's a spectacular stunt show.
I wonder if they're gonna either put like some type of barrier up on the path it rolls down, or if they're gonna put some type of barrier in front of the audience. You know what I mean? So if it happens again,
God.
I just can't believe this has never happened in decades. That the thing has never gone off track, because it looked like it happened real easy.
Yeah, I don't.
And Louis
But
was
yeah.
pissed.
I know that's my brother's favorite ride since he was a little kid. All right. So in other news at amusement parks, we have another death, this time at Universal Studios.
Yeah, so a 70-year-old woman died while riding one of our favorite roller coasters ever, which I probably haven't been on in 15 years, so I don't know if it's still good or not. But the Revenge of the Mummy roller coaster.
15 years? I feel like it's like 20 years.
Yeah, probably. When did we go to Universal last?
I feel like we went. Who did we even go with? Did we go with some of my classmates, or was it even before then? No, I'm serious. It was like 20 years ago. Didn't we go with like Annie and Dee Dee or something, and Louie or something? I don't remember.
I feel like I wasn't. Yeah, I had to be. I feel like I wasn't like a little kid, but I might have been Lillian's age or around her age.
Yeah,
when we went.
it's been a while. But
So yeah, that was
I thought
20 years ago.
I just remember thinking that ride was cool, and we went on it a bunch of times because there was no one there, and somehow we were able to go on a bunch. But so they still haven't said what happened to this lady, but she was 70 years old. So like a part of me is just like, if you're older, especially if you feel good, you shouldn't have to not do stuff. Like if you're 70 and you're trying to have fun in your life and you want to go on a roller coaster, go on a roller coaster. But I guess you just need to know when you go on rides that accelerate like that, if you have any kind of underlying, especially like a cardiovascular thing where if you get too excited, it could cause your heart to have like an arrhythmia and you could basically have a heart attack. Or if you have a cardiovascular thing where there's a vessel that's just like about to burst and it just needs the right amount of force to cause it to do that, it's a chance you're taking. And we talked about this a few months ago. We had this one that I actually wrote about in the gross room. I did a forensic Friday on it back in December, for a guy who also died on a ride at Universal. And here he was significantly younger, but if you remember, he was in a wheelchair and he had a history of spinal hardware put in, and also a broken femur that was repaired. So his skeleton was not stable, and I believe that that's how they said that the death was accidental and it wasn't on the ride at all. So a person like him should absolutely have not been on the ride. And we'll get more information with this woman. I mean, like when you're 70, you could be completely healthy, but you could also have a history of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, whatever. And maybe she shouldn't have went on the ride. They didn't even say if it was like natural or accidental or anything. So
Yeah, and I mean, I guess what I don't really like about this is we're just finding out about this now, and it happened back in November, because they're saying the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services lists incidents that occur at amusement parks that employ their own full-time safety inspectors and must self-report incidents as they are exempt from state inspections, and then the incidents are broken down on a quarterly basis. So are there other incidents not getting reported because they're self-reported? I don't really like that these
I'm
parks
sure.
are exempt from state inspections.
I know, I'm sure.
So
And we
I
hear about it in Florida all the time. I mean, the worst one ever was that kid that went in that, I don't know what you would call that, like a free fall. I don't know the exact name of that ride, but the kid that was significantly overweight and shouldn't have been on it in the first place because the harness.
Was terrible.
That was so terrible. God, that video is it's just so terrible. I am such a crazy person when the kids go on rides. Like I just am so scared because half of the time, and maybe this is a false sense of security, but I feel like at Disney they just hire people that are a little bit more like interested in doing the rides because they know how important it is, the safety of it. But like at the boardwalk, for example, everyone's high all the time and they're like 15 years old. You know, they're just like, and some of those rides, they're not as extreme as something like the Mummy sometimes, but like if they fell off of it, they could get significantly hurt or killed. It just scares the shit out of me.
Well, I encourage everybody to read both our Disney and Six Flags high-profile death dissections because you will see there is a very distinct difference between how the two parks handle accidents and the type of accidents that occur between the two.
Oh yeah, that fire at Six Flags. Jeez, that was bad.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, this week's high-profile death dissection is actually a story we talked about in the news last week, which was a woman that was married and then she found out that she was being poisoned with lead, and it turns out that it was her husband. So in that death dissection, we go all through what would have happened in the hospital from the time she got there, and how they were able to diagnose that, what they're looking for, what the treatment is for all of that, and just the whole background behind it. It's really a disturbing case. Her name is Hannah Petty. And then we have a really fun post about causes of death in the 1600s. Did you get to check that out,
Yeah.
Ray?
Was
Like
it one
a
like Death by
frightened-
Planet?
Yeah, a frightened, like, all that. I was like, oh, we need to make some t-shirts with these. They're pretty funny. And then our Funeral Friday this week was about post-mortem grooming. So getting your nails and your hair did after you die. So all that and more in the Gross Room.
Head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up.
Okay. I hate hearing stories about little kids, like, wanting to kill people. It's just so disturbing to me that we hear this from time to time. Just knowing kids that are around this age, thinking like, how is a kid this hateful? And I mean, the biggest case I could think of in recent memory of us covering on this show is that 6-year-old or even 5-year-old at the time that shot his first grade teacher.
Oh, yeah. That
You're
was
just
a really
like-
bad one.
Like, what I really would like to just talk to a psychologist about this and just see, like, what is it about that kid that makes that kid like that, because it's just so abnormal from most other children that age.
Well, let's get into this one. This is disturbing all around. So, an 11-year-old boy has been charged with homicide after his father took away his Nintendo Switch, and after he was looking for it on his birthday, he came across a revolver and decided he was going to shoot his dad in the head.
Yeah. I mean, so the mom wakes up to this loud noise, and she doesn't know what's going on because it's dark, and then she hears something that sounds like water dripping and turns on the lights and sees that it's blood, and her husband is laying there bleeding out.
Jesus Christ. I mean, this is like one of these examples of, you hear about this video game being taken away. They didn't even really get into why the game was taken from him to begin with. But I guess...
But who cares?
Exactly. It doesn't matter why the game was taken away with. The kid should not be getting so angry from that this is the result of it. But they're saying that it was the day of his 11th birthday, so he didn't have the Switch. It had been taken from him. I don't know if it was that day or prior or whatever. But they're saying before they went to bed, they sang happy birthday to him. Everything seemed okay. So he's looking for the Nintendo Switch, and he also later admitted that he got angry that they made him go to bed. So he's looking for the Switch and sees there's a safe in the house and thinks that the Switch is in the safe. So he ends up finding the keys to the safe, goes in there, finds the gun, and then just says he was so angry that he did it, and he didn't even think about the consequences of what could potentially happen, which is very concerning. And I hate to be like this, but I also have some criticism for the parents for allowing access into the safe that easily for a young kid.
I just think that once the investigation comes out with this, there's just going to be more to the story.
There has to be.
I mean, and maybe I'm just being naive by saying this, but I feel like if my kids found a gun, they wouldn't know how to just like pick it up and use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Easily. A gun is, I fired several different kinds of guns, and they're not very easy to do. I know that it can be if it's loaded and it's just like ready to go. But I mean, so yeah, like I know that you're like, I don't want to blame the parents, but you 100%, I don't care. Like I 100% blame the parents. You can't have a firearm in your house that's not away from the children. Like that literally would not have happened. Kids get pissed off. They do. It's normal. And they just shouldn't even have had access to anything like that. But I feel like there's going to be a little bit more to the story, because didn't they say in the article that the kid had a bruise on his face and a laceration or something?
Yeah, and they didn't really get in detail about what that was about. Also, I want to point out, like, He used a revolver, which you could argue is one of the easier guns to fire, right? But A, why was it, what was
So
it
it was
loaded?
loaded though.
Well,
Like
was it loaded, or did he know how to load it? Like
exactly, yeah.
there's, there's in our area junior shooting range where kids can go. It doesn't mean all of them are murderers, but some children, especially if their parents or family members are hunting, they're interested in it and they learn at a young age how to do it. So like, was it loaded? Did he know how to load it? The thing that's concerning for me is this revolver seemed to have a hammer, which he was well enough aware that he had to pull it back to fire the gun.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's just I feel like this isn't his first experience with this gun. And like I don't know. I take my kids' iPads away sometimes. Like why would you put it in a safe? Like why does the kid even know that there's a safe? Like that's something when
Yeah.
you have a weapon like that, that's something that should just exist that your child doesn't even know that it's in the house. They don't know it's in the house. They don't know. Because sometimes if you say to a kid, like, oh, don't touch this, don't ever use the key, like, that's exactly what they would want to do.
But like we grew up around hunters and guns, and I feel like it was an unspoken, you just know you don't touch them. So
Yeah, but like that doesn't work with kids. It works with you because you follow rules. But like we used to, we used to be in Nanny and Pop's basement, and they were locked up in the case. But like we would look around the basement to try to find the key for it, just because they told us not to. Like this is what children do, right? It's just like you have to just assume that every kid is going to not listen to you, and that should be there's childproof safes that sometimes you have to like use your fingerprint to open it or something like that. It's just completely unacceptable that that was even in the house. But so this kid was adopted, correct?
yeah, in 2018.
Okay, so that's another thing, like so that kid wasn't adopted as a baby.
No.
He was like 3-ish when he was adopted already, so that's another thing to take into consideration is like what was that kid's life for the first 3 years of his life? Where was he? How was he treated?
Yeah, like did he have pre-existing trauma?
Because I mean, like it's possible that they had the kid from the time it was an infant because of like a foster care situation and they finally made the adoption. We don't really know, but it's just an interesting thing to note and talk about that potentially this kid had a lot of negative experiences prior to even getting in the care of this family.
Well, it's just worrisome in general that a child is getting that angry that they are seeking to hurt somebody as a response to the anger. Kids get angry all the time, but it doesn't mean they want to hurt somebody.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just a hard age because they're so young. Like, you have kids that they get in a fight and then their first instinct is like hit somebody back. It's just like when you're an adult, I'll say you usually, because most adults, like when they get pissed, they don't want to hit somebody, but it's clearly happens in abusive relationships and stuff like that. So the impulsivity of being angry isn't as much of a concern to me as because I don't really think an 11-year-old, although they are starting to learn right from wrong and all of that stuff. I just don't really think they quite understand the full impact of things like that or how that works. Like a child just doesn't really understand that completely. So I mean, when you have a kid of this age, it was even worse with the 6-year-old that shot the teacher. It's just like, what are you going to put them in jail? I mean, like Lucia's 11 years old. She couldn't live on her own. You know what I mean? Like she knows right from wrong and she's starting to get to that point, but like she couldn't just she's not an adult. She couldn't go out and like get a credit card and drive a car and she doesn't know how to be an adult. You know what I mean? So it's just like, what do you do with these kids?
Well, yeah, and I feel like that's maybe where the homicide charge is stemming from. And I don't know if he's going to get tried as an adult, which would be crazy because he's 11 years old. But at the same time, like, we're just kind of missing information. Like, we know from this article he knew enough to pull the hammer back to fire the gun, but did he load the gun? How familiar was he with it? Did his dad show up? Was he sneaking in the safe all of the time and playing around with it? We just really don't know.
Okay, let's get into this Prenuvo case.
So a man is suing the healthcare company Prenuvo after he paid $2,500 for a full body scan and was told he was all clear, only to have a debilitating stroke a couple months later.
All right, so we did talk about this on this show, how it was really weird that some high-list celebrities are promoting this thing. It's $2,500 to get a full body scan. But that price doesn't just include going in this machine and getting the scan, because the MRI machine doesn't give you results. There's an actual radiologist that needs to look at that, and that's a lot for them to look at, every square inch of a human body. I don't know if you've ever seen what an MRI looks like, but they take multiple, it's almost like they're doing a dissection of you while you're still alive. Like they just take slices and look at it from all different levels to see how your organs look, your arteries look, and things like that. So they missed it apparently on his scan of his brain. The cerebral arteries that are bringing oxygen from the heart to the brain, one of them had such significant, I guess in hindsight, when they went back and looked at it, it had such significant narrowing that in a real life situation, like let's say you just had that done at your doctor and they scanned your brain, they would be like, we need to do further workup because you're at risk of a stroke. But they saw that, or they didn't see it, and gave him a clear bill of health. And then 8 months later, he had a pretty severe stroke where he has paralysis, at least on certain parts of the left side of his body. So this brings up an interesting question, like how liable is this company? Because it, when your insurance isn't paying for this, you're spending $2,500 of your own money for this additional, quote, peace of mind. And you're told that everything looks good, but like everything wasn't good for him.
Well, I wanted to point that out too, because an interesting detail is that he was 35 years old, and I am only 4 years away from that age, and I don't feel like in the next 5, even 10 years, that I would need to get a full preventative scan on my body to make sure that nothing was wrong, and then that he had the stroke so young is kind of odd to me, don't you think?
Well,
Like, I guess what I'm getting at is, did he know that he had a pre-existing condition or something, and that's why he got the scan?
no, I just think that people just want to know what's going on inside their body. Like there's lots of people that have millions of dollars, and it's like $2,500 is like $25 to normal people. It's nothing. Like, oh, I'll just get this done and see. Like, I always have this weird headache, or I always have this like pain in my leg. Is there anything there? I mean, why not? Right? Like, I think most people would want to do it just because there's a potential you could see a small tumor or something like that. So I don't think he knew. He had the scan done, and 8 months later, he had this stroke. So they compared the Prenuvo scan with the scan from when he had his stroke. So a blood clot got stuck in that area where the cerebral artery was narrowed, and it was the same exact spot. So, and that's what the worry is when you have a narrowed artery, is that blood could clot up and get stuck there, and then all of a sudden oxygen's not getting to your brain anymore. And that part of your brain could die off, and then you have a stroke, or like lose oxygen at least. So I think it's valid. I mean, the thing is that I don't know what kind of papers you sign when you get this done that just says like, hey, this is kind of for fun. So if we, I mean, if you're marketing it like Kim Kardashian was saying, oh, you should get this done because this saved me. I almost had a life-threatening aneurysm, which she didn't, by the way, just because if she did, they would have done surgery on her right away. And as we know, she didn't have anything done. Then, like, they're advertising it as like, hey, you might have this thing that you could catch early. When indeed, if they did catch it early, it would have saved his life. So the fact that you're like, who are they getting to read this? Because I think about it like this, $2,500 to get that test done is really not that much money, considering You have to pay for the staff to run the machine. You have to pay for the machine itself. It takes 45 minutes to an hour to get the scan done. And then you need to pay a radiologist who's a doctor to read it, which takes a long time because it's a really long scan. It's a big scan with lots of pictures. So, like, I can't imagine how the company's making too much money off of it unless they're like lowballing radiologists or having them read them too fast.
Well, unless the scan itself is $2,500 and then you're paying a separate fee for the doctor to review it.
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't assume that. If I was a customer, I would think the whole thing's $2,500.
No, I also think it's valid. I just wanted to point that out because I thought that guy was pretty young to be having a stroke. So, like, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just, like, trying to think of all possible scenarios. But I wonder if, you make a good point. Like, we don't know the type of paperwork you're signing when you're getting this done. I wonder if they could try to get them on false advertising or something like that. It said their website says the scan can detect subtle changes early and, quote, spot potential issues before they become serious. So, I mean, they could probably use that in court as a false advertising claim.
Like, let me give you an example. When you there's all of these businesses around. I don't know if there are anymore because I haven't been pregnant in 11 years. But when I was pregnant, at least with my last one, there's all these businesses around that you can go and get an ultrasound to see like a 4D image of your baby, right? When I went to get that done, it was just kind of like, hey, all the papers I signed were just like, hey, this is for fun. We can't diagnose anything. We can't promise you this is going to look good. If something looks wrong, you're going to have to follow up with your doctor like a hands off, like we're just showing you. We have no responsibility what you're seeing and like what we see kind of thing, right? I almost wonder how this Prenuvo falls under just
like a boutique
regulation.
scanning
Yes,
company.
like is it like a boutique place or is it fall under the same exact regulations that a diagnostic MRI would fall under?
That is interesting to bring that comparison up. And those places do exist. I mean, there's one very close to us. I really considered going at one point.
But it's the same thing too, because like you can go for fun, but also they do diagnostic 4D, 5D imaging too. So it's like they're straight up just like, this is not diagnostic. This is just like so you could see your baby look clearer than the regular ultrasound you get at your doctor's appointment. So,
but if
there has to be like major regulations with this.
If you want to use that example though, like you're going to a boutique ultrasound place to get if you want to argue it, you want to get cute pictures of your baby, or you just like for somebody like me that went through IVF and everything, and like I was getting scanned every single week till 7 weeks, and then I couldn't go till 13 weeks, and then I couldn't go till 20 weeks, right? Like somebody like me that's an anxious person might want to go in between that long period of time just to see and make sure he's moving around and everything. But like I feel like they are advertising it as a diagnostic service, not just like you're coming in for fun to get cute pictures of your baby or just to get pictures of your body.
Yeah, that's what and really, I can't think of anything else that's quite like that. Because even, like, let's say Prenuvo's not even a company, right? I don't know that I could just go to my doctor and say, I want a full body MRI. And then they'll say, okay, obviously insurance won't cover that, right? For no reason. Like, my little one, Lucia, has had a full body MRI for her bone disorder. That was paid for with insurance because it was they needed to see if she had foci of different areas of inflammation throughout any bones in her body. But like, if I just said to my doctor, hey Joe, like I want to go get a full body MRI, and he would say, oh, insurance won't cover it, and then I was like, I want to pay cash for it, would they just do it just because you want it? I don't even think so.
Yeah,
like, you can't just get one.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just weird. So there has to be.
Maybe that's where this idea stemmed from, though.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's a good idea for money making, but you have to be having them legitimately read as if it were a diagnostic one.
But healthcare providers are very critical of this service, saying exactly what you were saying earlier, which is like when you're going in for an MRI, it's typically for, let's use me for an example. Like my blood work was weird for prolactin, so they were like, we want to see if you have a pituitary adenoma. So they look at my brain, right? And these experts are saying, like, we go based off of symptoms or something like that, labs that are off. to look at an area and a specific area, and it takes time to look at one specific area in all those layers you were talking about. So like how are they looking at the full body in detail like they're claiming?
Yeah, I just feel like it would cost to pay a radiologist to do it. They're just quick scanning it to see if I think they're quick scanning to see if there's anything glaring. Like, oh, there's a 2 centimeter tumor in this person's pancreas, kind of. But like the narrowing of the cerebral artery is a very fine but yet important, very important abnormality. But I suppose if you're looking through hundreds and hundreds of pictures, it's something that could be easily, you know. And another interesting point too is that, and I don't know this, any radiology people that are listening, when I worked as a cytotechnologist, so that was looking at slides specifically like pap smears, we had a limit of how many slides we were able to look at a day. And it was at that time, I don't know what it is now, but it was like we were allowed to look at 100 pap smears a day. That's it. It doesn't matter if we worked, a 10-hour shift, whatever. Like you can't read more than that according to laws that were made within the laboratory accreditation systems. So for radiology, and that's because, like, let's say, for example, I'm reading pap smears at my job, 100, and then I go work per diem at another hospital for another 4 hours at night. Like, do you really want someone like me whose eyes are tired and have looked at 100 slides already to be looking at your pap smear at that second job? No. So it was just like 100 a day. It doesn't matter how many jobs you have. Now, if you had a per diem job, you could do like 50 at one job and 50 at another job, but there's like regulations for a reason. So it's the same thing in this case. Like how many slides or how many pictures is a radiologist allowed to look at in a 24-hour period? I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And they also pointed out that the scan's only 45 minutes long. And like I have a hard time believing that because if I get the one on my brain with and without contrast, that's also 45 minutes. So like how are they looking at the full body that quickly? And that's
I feel
the
like
criticism.
Lucia's was about an hour.
Yeah, but she's a tiny person,
But
not a full-blown adult.
I think when you get the contrast, though, they take a whole new set of pictures, so it's almost like you're getting two separate MRIs. I'm not really sure, honestly, but
yeah, I just think it's interesting that other healthcare professionals are very critical of this, and it's primarily endorsed by celebrities, so you got to think about that too, because those people are probably getting paid. I'm just speculating that, but the way that they push it, it just seems like skeptical, and I think everybody, the overall lesson is you got to do your own research before you go to these places. Don't just take Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian's word for it.
it's weird too because they have a lot of companies out now that you could order your own blood work too. It's just like a
Like, for
different thing
what?
in medicine. Well, I mean, listen, like you could say that the medical system is screwed here, and sometimes you're just like, I want to order this stuff because they're not getting to the bottom of whatever's wrong with me. But so we're going to be seeing more and more of these services that you could pay cash for and just kind of bypass, all that.
All right, well, it's happened again. A man has tried to board a flight with his dead wife.
Didn't it just happen not too long ago?
Yeah, it did. And I guess I'm happy to address this in this story. In the last one we covered where they were trying to get that old lady on the plane, like she was on the plane. They really almost got away with it, honestly. I was asking at that time, did she die? Like, how did she get through security? Did she die in between going to security and getting on the plane? Did they just say she was asleep when she was going through security? I couldn't understand. But in this particular case, they were trying to go through a metal detector and the security noticed that she was unconscious and she was in fact dead, and they would not let them proceed. And then this happened in Spain. So this guy said, "Oh, she died a couple hours ago, but we were here." So I'm just confused about the security system there. Was it a secondary set of security? Were they just hanging out before they went through? Because typically you get dropped off and you go right through and then you hang out in the terminal.
Well, I guess if you have a wheelchair, you have to go through a certain thing because you can't get out and walk through it. So I don't know how this has happened more than once in the past 6 months. But I like how they say she also had an extremely low body temperature. Like, were they touching her body to see if she was alive?
I don't know, but I guess the thing that we talked about last time is obviously this is ridiculous, but we could understand it because shipping a dead body is incredibly expensive and can just be a whole headache in itself. So if you could try to get away with it, I guess that's what these people are trying to do to save somebody a
Yeah,
headache. But
I'm not hating on them. It's like, and he got arrested,
that's
and
unnecessary.
well,
If
it
he
might
if
be
he had nothing
necessary.
to
He
do
might
with
have
it.
killed her. Like, we don't know, but like, she's 80, right? Like, all I keep thinking about is this little old man that his wife died, and he's just like kind of lost, and you know, maybe people are frowning upon what he did, but whatever. Maybe she really did die at the airport, and he like freaked out and didn't know what was happening. But like now he's got arrested. Like, come on.
No, it's
He also
ridiculous.
could be like an abusive asshole. Like, I don't know what happened, you know? It's just
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
just like sad if it's just like an old dude.
if they figure out that he killed her, obviously he deserves to be arrested. And then I guess where she died, if he entered the airport with her in that state or whatever, that's being investigated right now. But as we know, he tried to get her through security and they were like, absolutely not. Okay, on to your questions and emails. If you guys have questions or stories for us, please send them to stories@motherknowsdeath.com. All right, this first one's from Jen. Hi, ladies, newish fan, obsessed about one of the last segments on your most recent episode. I 100% agree with Nicole. One of the main reasons I love your podcast is because you don't speak down to your listeners. You say it how it is and use simple terms, and when you drop medical jargon, you usually simplify it for us. As someone who constantly has trouble getting her thoughts out, forget about trying to sound smart or use big words. I appreciate this. To me, it shows anyone could be successful. The other thing I love and had me from the beginning is Nicole's accent. I live in Central Oregon now, but grew up in upstate New York. I have family in Jersey, and hearing that accent reminds me of home and brings me comfort. I've been hearing the New Yorker in me coming out more and more lately, and I'm not mad about it. Anywho, love you guys, love the show, and welcome to hearing more about your mother-daughter dynamic.
Oh, thank you. Why is it that Nicole's accent? Like, what about yours?
Yours, I always say this. You have a pretty thick New Jersey accent, and so does Louis. And I don't think Louis is as obvious because he doesn't talk that much. But when he does, it's really thick. And I think I have it in more context, and I think it's weird. Like, sometimes I feel like some words I say sound Southern, and I don't know. It just happens. But I think yours is definitely 100% stronger than mine.
I had to change a lot of, like, now I would say water, but I used to say water.
Yeah, I'm the same
Like,
way.
I really had to like force myself to not say that anymore. Just certain types of Philly words, you know.
But think of like Mom and Ricky, right, have pretty strong Philly-ish accents where they say like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. What and daughter and like all those ones. Whereas we say like my number one thing I say weird is milk. If I think about it, I'll say it correctly, but I typically say milk or home. You know, you
Home.
can.
Wait, I'm going home. Is that, yeah, I guess so.
Well, you're thinking about it. I think if anybody sees us in the true wild and we're just talking, not even about these stories, just talking about life and whatever, I feel like that's when it's the worst. In your
Oh
natural
yeah.
habitat.
People have come up to me when I was traveling and say like, "Are you from Philly?"
Oh, 100%. You could always tell.
So there's this girl on I've been seeing, I'll send it to you next time it comes across on Instagram. And she basically, all she does is talk about how we talk around here. And she has like thousands of views.
Wait, I think I've seen her. Does she have like long black hair?
Yeah.
And, like yeah, I know exactly who you're
Like
talking
today,
about.
like today I came across one and she was talking about how we pronounce the streets, or like certain streets and stuff like that. And then today was like she was doing how we would pronounce people's names.
Oh, I gotta see that one because a weird thing in North Philly is they have a street. They have two streets. I don't know if she covered this one. I didn't see it, but she probably did. They have Almond and Salmon Street, and they pronounce it Almond and Salmon, which drives
Yeah.
me crazy. And she said because I used to live near Oregon Ave. They all pronounce it in Philly Argon Ave.
Argon, yeah.
Things like that. Yeah, I saw she had one where she was saying how if somebody says you look sharp, it's like the highest compliment in Philly. Someone's like, "Oh, your dress is sharp." And it is. It's crazy. We just have our totally own language here. She's really funny though. She has really good videos and they're
she does.
100% accurate. All right, next from Heather. Hello to my fave pod ladies. I just wanted to comment about the booger wall. Maria, I am 100% with you in feeling like you want to vomit. I am a nurse and also a part-time art teacher to an elementary junior high school. I have dealt with more than my fair share of excrement, emesis? What's that? An expulsion.
Emesis is just throwing up.
Okay. Nothing in my nursing career has ever made me want to vomit. Teaching, on the other hand, has. The one time in my life I almost vomited was turning around and finding two boys picking their noses and eating them. Disgusting. You would think they were kindergartners or even first grade, but nope, we're talking about 4th and 5th graders. They were not eating each other's, thank God, but sat right next to each other and continued as if this was a normal affair. All things considered, it's a win that they weren't sharing. Anyways, hope things bring a smile to your face if you read this on air. I hope parents will appreciate what teachers go through. Oh my God.
So when Maria was making the clip for the booger wall, she sent it to me and I was like, no, you got to put a picture of a real booger wall in the video. And she goes, okay, do you have one you want to use? So then I'm like, okay, let me just check. And I just Google image search booger wall and I'm like, oh my God, there's just picture after picture and they're all nasty. Some of them are like bloody. And I sent it to her and then, you know, like when you're texting with someone, that picture is there, like like I was in the middle of, because, you know, she loves to text me while I'm cooking dinner. So like I'm looking at this booger wall picture while I'm cooking dinner and having a text conversation with her. It is really gross, but just Google search it. You'll see all of the things that come up.
Wait, is that the one that on the Crime Con account they said this is upsetting and I said I was upset making it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then the worst is I put the text over the picture and then I spelled something wrong. So then I go back and remake it. And I was like, I just want this to be over with, this picture. So gross.
It is so gross.
All right, last question. Maria, what will you do with your placenta? Mine's in the deep freezer. I really have no interest in it. So do you want to?
Yes, I do. It's going on my shelf.
I'm not interested in eating it. I'm not interested in displaying it. I don't really want to do anything with it. So like it's open for you to take. Otherwise it's going in the medical trash. So I don't know if that's impersonal
I'll try to
or
think
what,
of something. I'll try to think of something creative to do with it, but it probably will just go in a jar with the other ones.
Well, have fun with that because
I will. Thank you.
I don't even want to see it. Like you could arrange it. I'll tell them at my appointment that you want to keep it, whatever. I'll put it on my birth plan. That's all on you. All right, guys, we have some new Valentine's Day merch on our shop, so you can head to thedoramodershop.com to see. We have 3 new designs, and they're super cool. The link to that is in the description of every episode, or you could go on thegrossroom.com and hit shop, and they will be right there, or head over to thedoramodershop.com. Our City Winery show, technically at the City Vineyard in New York City, are now for sale as well, so you guys could buy those. The link to those are in the gross room or in the description of every episode as well. Please head over to Apple or Spotify, leave us a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, if you have stories or comments for us, please submit them to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.